Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Danganronpa 2, if the button of hope and despair, I think. I kind of forgot what it was. But, we're back. Once again, I'm not dead. Just, trying to get through the week, really. We should be able to do some new stuff soon. I've got a couple days off, so I'm going to be just playing a lot of games, I think. Because I haven't done almost any of that over the week. I know how tragic. But back to the story here. We had Mondo cart us out from danger on the motorcycle. And I guess all the students are hate us less? I don't really know. I think that hopefully that's explained in a bit. Because they seemed pretty against us last time we saw them. Makoto had barely regained consciousness while Mukuro was fighting the horde of Monokumas at the main entrance. Questions raced throughout Mukuro's mind, but she wasn't able to answer them. There's no way she could have answered them so easily. After all, she was still alive. The sound of the motorcycle grew closer and closer, as if it was threatening to break Mukuro's spirit. Instead of addressing them, Monokuma accelerated the motorcycle he stole from Monokuma directly towards Mukuro. Didn't this already happen? I feel like my bookmark screwed up. I don't really know why that happened. That was really, really odd. Okay. Let's see. Makoto had barely regained consciousness while Mukuro was fighting the horde of Monokumas at the main entrance. And when he woke up, he did something extremely simple. He talked about his memories. Most of the students were still skeptical, even after listening to Mukuro's recorded confession on Chihira's laptop. Obviously, they were still not entirely convinced at first when Makoto woke up, but after Sakura asked him a certain question, the ambience completely changed. Then beyond the walls of this school, the world is completely destroyed? You're saying there's no one else alive? Makoto slowly sat up to answer Sakura's meek question. Don't worry, I'm sure Kinshiro is still safe. I'm sure he'll still keep his promise to you. Sakura gasped. Kinichiro was the only man she couldn't defeat. A man who had promised her a rematch, and made her one other promise as well. How do you know that name? How do you know about that promise? Because you told me. No. Makoto slowly corrected himself. You told all of us. Sakura was silent after hearing those words. But then she faced the other students and spoke in a loud, clear voice. I'm going to trust Makoto. Sakura? Though Aoi was shocked, Sakura continued to speak with determination. What Makoto just said is something I kept locked away inside my memories. In fact, I was planning to keep that a secret until the day I died. But if I shared that secret, that means there was once a strong bond between Makoto, myself, and with my fellow students as well. Makoto continued to talk in a gentle voice. Though it couldn't have been good for his health, he continued to slowly talk about the memories that the other students no longer had. Why do you know about the story I'm planning to write? Are you a specialist nin user who can predict my future? You already finished that story, Hifumi. You had me help you with inking. What? Wait a sec. How do you know I extorted money from that girl related to the Kuzuryu clan? Kuzuryu, yeah. Because you even tried to sell my organs to them. His wounds were excruciating. But even so, Makoto kept smiling and talking about their lives together. As if it was his duty to do so now that he had regained his memories. As the other students listened to him, they slowly began to realize something. The vivid accounts he was providing couldn't be explained as just passing knowledge. Clearly, some kind of bond between them all had been erased. Only Togami remained cynical. There's no way I would have grown close to any of you. It's likely that you're all secretly working together. Though Togami was still hostile towards Makoto's recollection of their memories, for the time being, he determined that Makoto wasn't actually a terrorist. Mukuro had bought enough time for Makoto to wake up and share his memories with the others. Even if she hadn't intended to do that, it was still a small sliver of hope that she grasped tightly. And now, as she looked at the boy who had smiled at her, Mukuro didn't know what to say. She couldn't think of anything to say at all. The battle was over, and Mukuro was now back to being a disappointing girl. She turned away from everyone's faces and apologetically climbed onto the back of the motorcycle. But Makoto saw her and slowly opened his mouth to say, "Thank you, Mukuro. You saved my life." Makoto gave her words of sincere gratitude between his weak breaths. Mukuro couldn't bring herself to look at him as she mumbled to herself. "Why? Huh? If Kyoko told you, then you already know what I did, right?" After regaining his memories and learning the truth, Mukuro should have been nothing but a hated traitor to him. Why would he smile at someone like her? Mukuro kept her head down. Makoto smiled, as if he was unsure how to respond, and said, "Well, I guess you're right. But you also saved my life many times during these past 2 years, and..." Makoto took a deep, quiet breath and smiled at Mukuro again. "You're my friend. We all spent time with each other. It would be great if you could look for a different path. Not despair. And if there's any way I can help you, I will. Do you really think I can walk another path at this point? I don't know what you can do, or even what I can do. But I think it's more important to look at that path instead of actually finding it." Was this intentional, or a coincidence? Just before he regained his memories, Makoto had said something similar to Mukuro when she spoke to him in the nurse's office as Junko. Regardless of whether he lost his memories or regained them, those words revealed Makoto's true character. As Mukuro confirmed that to herself, Makoto blurted out something that was almost too trusting. "And it's not just you. Even Junko can." But he was immediately interrupted. Monokuma's face appeared on every monitor in the academy, and his laughter seemed to be coming out of every speaker. I could have kept pretending to be that ultimate hacker, but it's boring to impersonate someone who doesn't even exist. If this keeps up, I'll lose my identity and turn into Kanokuma. Kyoko looked at the surveillance camera and addressed Monokuma directly. "You seem to give up pretty easily. There isn't a bear anywhere that gives up as easily as I do. Regardless, I'm pretty sure Chihiro has figured out the secret of my control program by now. So just as I thought, you included that program on purpose." Kyoko realized something when Mukuro told her about Junko. There were 2 reasons such a hateful person would intentionally leave an obvious clue inside the Monokuma units. Either Junko wanted the students to learn the truth about the outside world, and themselves on their own, and turn their hopes into despair, or she was looking forward to that clue resulting in her own plan being undone, which would allow her to feel despair towards herself. She was an angel of everlasting darkness, delighting in her own despair and using it to spread despair and destruction to those around her. Why would someone like that continue to play the role of Monokuma? Actually, I set that program for Chihiro to discover if she happened to be one of the final 5 survivors. I feel so sad and empty that my preparation was a waste, but I'm going to think about that positively. The word retreat doesn't exist in Monokuma's dictionary. Nervousness began to grip the students as Monokuma continued talking in his relaxing, uplifting voice. Now then, looks like everyone's here, including Toko, still tied up in her room. So let's start the heart-throbbing, exciting special graduation exam. Huh? The students broke out in a noisy confusion, but Monokuma ignored them and kept talking. Don't think about it too hard. Relax, relax. Chains. It lacks to... Oopert? For all I care, I'll still be the most adorable bear here. Togami, visibly annoyed with Monokuma's nonsensical rambling, shouted, I already know it's you, Junko. Stop this stupid game and show yourself. Oh my, don't you know? If you want to lure the mastermind out of her heavenly hidey hole, you need to bring a worthy sacrifice. You're not worthy enough at all. Do you really think the mastermind would show herself for your pathetic hope and despair? Ha 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 ha! He roared maniacally, then began to explain the special graduation exam. If you pass my exam, everyone will graduate. But if you fail, you'll be held back for a whole year. I'll reset your memories, give you a fresh new lease on life, and you'll reintroduce yourselves at the start of the school year again. They say people's lives don't come with reset buttons, but I'm not a people. Whether it's soft resets or hard resets, I can do as I please. Yet Suhiro seemed confused, but the other students knew what Monokuma meant by reset. He was going to force them to relive their school lives once again. As Yatsuhiro struggled to understand, Taka pointed at a nearby monitor and shouted, Stop this already! No matter what you do to us, we'll never commit murder. These past few days should have already made that clear to you. What was that? Jumped Monokuma. Are you serious? Of course. No one here would ever take another human being's life for any reason. As Taka shouted, one of the students, a pale-faced girl standing apart from the others, looked away. It was Sayaka. As she trembled, a voice popped up from behind her. What do you think, Sayaka? She couldn't even turn around from sheer terror. But Sayaka knew. She knew Monokuma was standing right behind her. Do you really... Oh, my voice. Do you really think none of you will become a killer? Monokuma leaned towards Sayaka and asked her a question only she could hear. By the way, Sayaka, why did you go to Makoto's room when nothing strange had happened yet? Did you two have an inappropriate relationship? What would your fans think if they found out you made a move on a boy by sneaking into his room? Or were you there for some other reason? She could barely make a sound, much less scream, as her trembling worsened. Monokuma had nothing to gain by cornering Sayaka and toying with her emotions like this. He simply wanted to see the young singer fall into despair over her true character. And for that reason, Monokuma did not relent. Hey! What were you trying to do to your close friend you've known for the past 2 years? Her determination from last night blended with the memories Makoto had recounted, and ate away at Sayaka's mind like a disease. As her mind began to rip itself apart, she fell to her knees. A clear ball, flying at just under 105 miles per hour, struck Monokuma in the mouth with enough force to sink into his face. The speaker in Monokuma's mouth was immediately destroyed, as his body rolled into a wall and stopped moving. Sayaka came to her senses and looked where the ball came flying from. She saw Leon, breathing heavily as he stared intensely at Monokuma. Yatsuhiro grabbed him and yelled, Dude, why did you do that, Leon? That crystal ball is really valuable." Leon had stolen Yatsuhiro's crystal ball and thrown it at Monokuma. That Monokuma was trying to take Sayaka hostage. What was I supposed to do? Dude, that crystal ball cost me $2 trillion. $2 trillion! They don't even print that much money anymore. Oh, besides, if the world is all screwed up, what the heck are you gonna need money for anyway? But if it's safe out there, I'll just join the major leagues or whatever and pay you back. Well, I could pay you back doing something else besides baseball. As those two argued, Sayaka fell to her knees. "Hey!" shouted Leon, running towards her. "Sayaka, are you okay?" She looked at him and stared blankly. "Leon?" She'd made up her mind, and she raised her head as she said, "There's something I need to confess to you later." "What? Seriously?" Sayaka was staring at Leon so intensely that he briefly forgot about the current situation. Not just to you, but to Makoto, and the others too. Sayaka had made up her mind to confess the sin that was weighing heavily on her heart, but Leon seemed to not hear the latter half of her remark. He ran back to the others, slapped Hifumi and Yatsuhiro on their backs, and shouted, "All right, everyone, let's ace this exam or whatever and get out of here already. There's no way I'm gonna let my happy memories of this place get taken away." The Monokuma inside the monitor responded, Fine. Now that things are finally coming to a boil, let's start the graduation exam." Sakura, who had been outside the dormitory, suddenly appeared with some information. "The Monokumas in the hallway are acting peculiar." The students all moved to the main building to see what Sakura was talking about. There, they saw 50 Monokumas standing in 2 rows along the walls of the hallway, and one standing at the very end of the hall. There was something strange on top of this Monokuma's head. An enlarged version of the escape button that Makoto had obtained from the Mono machine. As each student took in this sight, an announcement rang throughout the school. The me at the end of this hall has a button on top of his head that'll open the main entrance. You have 15 seconds to get that button, and if you do, I'll let you have it in place of a diploma. Students seemed surprised by the straightforward explanation. Only Celeste remained calm, and she asked Monokuma with a bored look on her face. "Of course, it's not as simple as running up and taking it, is it?" "Ho ho ho! How mean! Do I look like the kind of headmaster that would interfere with a student's graduation? Forget the gunfire salutes. I'm gonna send my graduates off with some fireworks. 100 fireworks to be exact. Enough for 20 seconds of hardcore partying." The more perceptive students immediately realized what he was talking about. The bombs installed inside each Monokuma. They would explode one after the other, filling the hallway with fire as soon as time started. After 15 seconds, the me standing at the back of the hall is going to sacrifice himself to give you guys one final firework. By the way, this probably isn't important, but that button isn't very durable. Pooh-hoo-hoo-hoo. This graduation exam was Monokuma's way of saying that he had no intention of letting anyone leave. It was clear from the explosion the students saw during the entrance exam that the halls of Hope's Peak Academy would be bathed in fire. even if someone was lucky enough to survive the explosions. The burns on their body alone would be enough to send them into a fatal shock. Their lungs might be completely incinerated by the scorched air before that. Even if they sacrificed one student to run through, the odds were low that they would even succeed. But there was no reason for every student to run in at once either, and a shadow of despair fell upon their faces. Nice. Very nice. I almost want to take a picture so I have those faces as a souvenir. As Monokuma laughed from behind the monitor, Sakura stepped forward. I'll do it. I have only seen the explosion once, but I believe I'm capable of withstanding its power. No, shouted Aoi. You can't. Even you couldn't handle 100 of those explosions. Sakura shook her head. I'm the only one who even has a chance. Suddenly, Mondo remembered the motorcycle he parked inside the dormitory and said, Hold up. The motorcycle might be fast enough to go through those explosions. I'll do it. Don't be hasty, urged Sakura. Even if the motorcycle is unharmed by the explosions, that doesn't mean its rider will be. As Sakura and the others continued their debate, one person stepped towards the hallway lined with Monokumas. I'll do it. Mukuro! Screamed Makoto weakly. Makuro? I just saw that and my mind just stopped, but I couldn't figure out why for a second. It's Makuro. With her back facing Makoto, turned her head to the side slightly, and gave him a small nod. She knew it would come to this. She knew why Monokuma would pose such an impossible exam. Junko is already looking forward to the next despair game. She's going to erase everyone's memories, including mine. She just wants to torment us and fill us with despair before that happens. But Mukuro knew her sister's personality all too well, and that's why she was confident. She knew that the escape button was real. Whenever Junko brought despair to others, she always made sure there was a possibility that despair would befall her instead. If the students won this gamble and made it through this horrible situation, they would finally escape to the outside world. That outcome would obviously fill Junko with immense despair. In the same way she left a clue in Monokuma's control program, Junko could not be satisfied unless she took pains to assure her own destruction. It was this quality that made Junko the ultimate despair. That's why Mukuro was determined to do it. She knew she was the only person who stood a chance of making that outcome possible, even if she had to risk her life. But right now, Mukuro wanted to live more than anything. She wanted to hold on to this world, a world she had no interest in previously. She didn't even know if this hesitation she felt was disappointing or not. But she wanted to live and continue searching for a new path. A path where she could abandon her submission to despair, where she could accept the sins of the past and continue to live. Mukuro, who was known as a war machine, found her heart beset by overwhelming fear and anxiety. Until now, it had never occurred to her that determination was necessary to live. As if she was brushing that fear aside, she quietly said, Thank you, Makoto. Unfortunately, the words she said to that boy, who showed her new possibilities, never reached his ears. Sakura, however, heard her, and frowned as she said, If you're planning to sacrifice yourself as an act of penance, I'll stop you with all my power. Though her words were firm, there was an unmistakable affection hiding in them. Both girls had dedicated their lives to battle, and yet Mukuro felt a twinge of jealousy towards Sakura for possessing something she lacked. Mukuro leaned towards Sakura and whispered in her ear. What? Are you serious? As Sakura's frown intensified, Monokuma's voice blared throughout the halls. All right, I'm gonna start the exam now. Ready, set, go! There is no time for questions or objections. The frontmost Monokuma exploded, sending a roaring wave of heat throughout the hall. But Mukuro didn't look away. She began moving, powered by resolute determination. Soon as the graduation exam started, the mastermind focused her control entirely on the Monokuma holding the escape button, and completely synchronized her field of vision with it. She knew what was going to happen next. She could predict what her sister Mukuro would do in this exact situation, where she would choose to focus her superhuman skill with weaponry. And so, through Monokuma's eyes, she watched the scene unfold exactly as she had predicted. A pointed metal bar burst through the explosions, heading straight for the weak point of the Monokuma holding the escape button. Specifically, it was aiming for the point where the bomb's detonation system and Monokuma's power source overlapped. It flew straight and true, as if it had been fired by a master archer. In order to bring despair to Monokuma, and by extension Junko as well, the super soldier known as Mukuro Ikusaba threw the pipe like a spear, so it could attack the same weak point she had pierced in the nurse's office. As explosions filled the hallway until only fire remained visible, the spear's speed and precision as it soared to its target defied all human logic. But the mastermind knew. She knew Mukuro had used her power to fill the world with despair. Power was all that disappointing girl had. But that power was useless against Monokuma. The mastermind had predicted that Mukuro would put all her efforts into that throw, and Monokuma caught the metal bar perfectly between his hands. The force of the throw knocked Monokuma back several yards, but the pointed end of the bar never pierced through his chest. Well, that was disappointing. The mastermind turned to look at a different monitor. She wanted to see the look on Mukuro's face when she realized that she failed to strike Monokuma. The despair of seeing the final Monokuma explode right before her eyes, completely obliterating the escape button. She wanted to sear this memory of her disappointing sister's final moments, as her newfound hope sank into a dark pit of despair. On instinct, she turned her attention to the surveillance camera that hadn't been destroyed, but instead of seeing Mukuro and the others, she only saw Sakura, who looked as though she had finished launching an attack. She only thought it was strange for 1 second. But then the hopelessly powerful mastermind completely understood the situation and shifted her point of view to Monokuma. But because of that single second, Junko would feel just a pang of despair. 3 seconds left. Amid the smoke, flames, and heat encircling the hallway, it burst through with the speed of a cannon shell. It glared at Monokuma with hot, boiling eyes that betrayed the icy expression on his face, and then, sharply, swiftly, strongly, it transformed into a living weapon that cuts through everything, revealing its true form in that hall of despair. 2 seconds left. Monokuma, who was still holding the metal bar in his hands, tried to move, but at that exact moment, the living weapon carved a path through the flames that appeared before him. Its body, which had never been wounded on any battlefield, was sustaining all manner of burns and injuries. But even so, it did not falter. The fire in its eyes never flickered once. 1 second left. The living weapon, Mukuro, slammed her knee into the back of the metal bar Monokuma was holding. The sharp tip of that metal bar pierced through Monokuma like a rail spike, shredding the detonator and its power source into pieces. Time's up. The 100 explosions ceased, and smoke blanketed the hallway. Mukuro had dived into Monokuma, and the pristine escape button now rested in her hand. She and the other students of Hope's Peak Academy had passed their graduation exam. It was only a small amount of despair. Monokuma had tasted it in only 3 seconds. First floor hallway. Junko. Mukuro looked down at Monokuma. He could no longer move or self-destruct. When she spoke to him, a static-filled voice emitted from his mouth. It seemed his communication function still worked. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I never expected you to do that. He still sounded like Monokuma. It seems his voice modulator was unharmed as well. I must have overestimated you. I never thought you'd need anybody's help on the battlefield. When I give the signal, please launch me forward with a roundhouse kick. Mukuro whispered these words to Sakura just before the explosion started. After Mukuro threw the metal bar, she jumped into the air at the exact moment Sakura unleashed a roundhouse kick. Right when Sakura's foot made contact with her own, Mukuro used the force generated by her kick to propel herself at Monokuma. Using the ultimate martial artist's superhuman attack like a springboard, she shot herself through the air like an artillery shell. Enduring intense heat, shrapnel, and blood-draining G-force, she stayed conscious as she charged through the hallway engulfed with explosions and despair. Mukuro trusted Junko. She trusted Junko to predict that she'd thrown the metal bar and catch it accordingly. Then, she'd try to look at her face as the despair sets in. The Junko Inoshima she knew would definitely do that. Although Mukuro hadn't predicted that her sister would try to kill her with the spears of Gunganir, she had a better understanding of her actions now. As Mukuro stared at Monokuma in his face, all he could do was laugh scornfully. You put your life in someone else's hands for a deadly battle? I don't know how I feel about that. You'll always be an annoying disappointment. I guess this time I'll just say I lost because I didn't see this much disappointment coming. The end. The end. Mukuro shook her head at Monokuma. No. You're wrong, Junko. Huh? If you want to talk about winning or losing, I think we lost before we even started. Mukuro's eyes shifted from side to side, as if she was unsure of something, and she fidgeted in place as she continued to talk. No matter how much despair they felt, you didn't think they'd kill each other the way they were before. That's why you erased their memories. They aren't like the other students you forced in the past. You knew these students would never do it. That's what you believed, isn't it? What are you talking about? So, it's okay, Junko. I'll bring back everyone's memories someday, and I'll show you everyone's happiness, and their bonds. I'll show all that to you, and fill you with even more despair. Mukuro nodded after she said this, as if to cheer her sister up. After several seconds of silence, Monokuma responded, You finally beat me this one time, and that lame speech is the best you can do? You're such a disappointment. You'll never fill me with despair. It's just constant disappointment. After pouting like a sore loser, Monokuma continued to speak in his usual tone. But you guys will be back. And when that time comes, I'll invite you guys to a wonderful place. I found out about this fun island while I was running things here. Poo-hoo-hoo, poo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Monokuma's laughter filled the room before the static finally cut out, and his remains fell silent. He wouldn't be talking again anytime soon. The mastermind was already preparing a new despair to bring to the world and to the students of Hope's Peak Academy, Junko included. In the end, the mastermind stayed in her Monokuma persona until the end, and Junko Enoshima never showed her face again. It was as if she resented the despair Mukuro had given her. That thought almost filled Mukuro with despair. But when she heard her classmates calling for her, she sealed that despair into the depths of her heart. From now on, she would seal away all her despair. And one day, when she can give Junko the perfect despair, she'll unleash all the despair she stored and plunge with her sister into a dark abyss. I won't leave my little sister alone. In the end, that was the first hope the disappointing older sister had felt since she was a child. Several hours later. Mukuro, are you really going to go out wearing that wig? After receiving a blood transfusion of the correct blood type, Makoto is beginning to show signs of recovering. Mukuro, holding her wig to disguise herself as Junko Enoshima, nodded. If I live as Junko, I might be able to understand her better. Despite that, Mukuro's voice still sounded like her own, as if she hadn't fully decided. And I've made up my mind. While I'm out there, I've decided I'll accept everyone's hatred towards me, and towards Junko. I can't die until I've destroyed all the despair that Junko has spread. The damage that ultimate despair inflicted upon the world could not be measured in terms of money, culture, or even human life. Television broadcast had already begun informing people that Junko Enoshima and Mukuro Ikusaba were the heart of ultimate despair. Among the survivors in the outside world, there's still people who hadn't been tainted by despair yet. Regardless of the fact that she released Makoto and the others, to these survivors she was nothing more than the reason the world ended. And to the terrorist wearing the Monokuma mask who continued to ravage the world, Mukuro was nothing but a traitor. She was now in the hopeless situation of being enemies with most of humanity. But Mukuro wasn't making a big deal out of it. I'm going to try not to kill anyone who comes after me for revenge. Wouldn't it be safer just to turn yourself in, wondered Yatsuhiro? Well, you might just get executed instead. But you could live to be an old lady if your trial keeps getting pushed back. Mukuro slowly shook her head at Yatsuhiro. Laws, justice, these things no longer exist. Is it really that bad out there? Maybe we should just stay in here. Togami glared at Yatsuhiro with contempt. Ignorant idiots should just shut up. Your fate won't change whether you stay in here or not. Though he was shocked to learn that the Togami Corporation had been destroyed, Togami continued to remain firm and proud, even towards Mukuro. You are a rare asset, continued Togami, so I will let you live for now. Depending on your actions, I may consider forgiving your crimes after I built a new world. Only a Togami would boast that they're capable of forgiving the crime of ending the world. You don't need to do that. I don't plan on just surviving. After turning away from Togami, Mukuro looked at the other students. Everyone was reacting in their own way. Kyoko had a look of quiet preparation. Toko, having just changed back from Genocide Jack, was panicked and confused. Mukuro looked back on the 2 years she spent with them, then turned to Makoto, who shared the same memories as her, and gave him the escape button. Makoto, you press it. Huh? Me? I think it's better if you press it instead of me. As she watched Makoto accept the button with some hesitation, Mukuro thought about what Monokuma had said. You guys will be back. Mukuro knew that Monokuma was telling the truth. After all, the file the students needed to fully restore their lost memories remained hidden in the academy. The research notes of Yatsuki Matsuda, the ultimate neurologist. His research is the key to restoring everyone's memories. Even if the students no longer have their memories, they may be able to repair the bonds that they had built among themselves over the past 2 years. But as long as their memories remain unrestored, the mastermind could still repeat her deadly plan. Although the island mentioned earlier sounded strange, the students could not turn their backs on the despair facing them. Then, let's go. Makoto remembered everything that was happening in the outside world. The boy who had chosen to remain inside the academy 2 years ago was now choosing to leave. How much did he struggle to come to that decision? But he was determined to face the despair awaiting him outside, and hid his internal conflict from the others. By protecting Makoto's hope, Mukuro would bring despair to her beloved sister. But she no longer knew if the end result of her goal would lead to hope or despair. She pulled the wig over her head and hid her face with her hands. Was she smiling because hope was waiting for her? Or was she crying because her path would lead to despair? When she lowered her hands, her face was devoid of all emotion. Mukuro no longer knew what expression she would wear on her face. At the same time, Makoto pressed the escape button. The siren began to wail as the turrets retracted into the ceiling. From beyond the heavy door, a bright light appeared. An infinite number of ifs, and all the possibilities contained therein encased the world. Accepting everything, hope, despair, and even the feelings of that disappointing girl, Mukuro Ikusaba. You know, I just realized, this is the same scene they showed at the end of the game. Like, I think the 5 surviving students are still positioned the same. They just added all the other students in for this. Yes, it is. I mean, it's smart, you know? They just had to barely modify that cutscene, and they had that. So that's it. Alright, cool. I was told like 3 hours. I don't know, maybe that was on a previous video, and I don't know. But anyway, that is gonna be it for Danganronpa, it seems. Danganronpa 2. I totally forgot. When does Danganronpa 3 come out? I'll look it up later. And there was the Ultra Despair Girls game, which I will be playing at some point, but we're gonna wait a little bit, since I've been playing a lot of Danganronpa. Like, a lot of Danganronpa. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, I stopped, I said I was gonna do a little bit of a break, and then I didn't, because the game came in, or so, it was weird, I don't know. But, yeah, like I said, or at least I hope I said, we're going to be moving on to Shadow of the Colossus soon enough, and then Soma at some point after that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for reading with me, and I will see you next time for whatever we're doing, whenever we're doing it, because we'll always be doing stuff, like, I guess. That sounded really weird. Yeah, bye!